Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. This is video number 13 in our video series regarding the ethical use of AI in research. In today's video, we're going to see how you can utilize the ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and at the same time the SPSS together with the Excel in order to do a t-test. So basically, in our last video, we discussed on how to use the z-test. So and we have stated some of the conditions that's supposed to be met before you can use the z-test. So similarly, for you to use the t-test, so the sample has to be small, at least maybe less than 30, and they should be somehow normally distributed. And also, if the standard deviation of your population is unknown, so the t-test are a better option to go with. So we have three different types of the t-test. We have to know that you can only use t-test when you have one or two uh, group of observations. So if you have one, you use the one sample t-test. If you have two groups, then you can either use the independent sample t-test or the paired, depending on the purpose that you want to achieve. So when you have only single observation, that is for one group, so you want to compare it with the maybe the population mean, so you go with the one sample t-test. Then when you have two independent groups that you want to compare their mean to see whether there is a difference, so you go with the independent sample t-test. In a situation whereby you applied a treatment to something, then you go with the paired sample t-test. That is, you now have the observation before the application of the treatment and after the application of the treatment. So maybe you want to see whether there is effect of that treatment on the variables that you treated. So in this example, we're going to use a driving test score for a group of people and compare it with the population mean. So let's say these are group of people that partake in a driving test and they obtain these individual scores. So we want to see whether the average of them of their score differs from that of the national district. So also here we now categorize the individuals that partake in the driving test. So we have those for male and we have also those for females. So we want to see whether the average score of the male differs from that of the female. Then here maybe we want to test a treatment before and after. So in this example, we asked the drivers to drive a certain distance with an obstacle placed under normal circumstance without under no influence of anything. So and they tried, so and they knocked down the maybe the obstacle placed on the path. Let's say for the first one he knocked 2, the second he knocked 0, 4, and the rest. So now in the under the second observation, we now maybe ask them to be answering their phone, sorry calls. They should use their phone while driving. So we want to see the influence of the uh, phone on what on the driving abilities. So the first one that knocked 2 under no influence of phone now knocked 8 under the influence of phone. Then the second observer that uh, knocked 0 now knocked 4. So we want to see whether there is a difference between one's ability when it comes to driving while answering phone and when driving under normal circumstance without answering the phone call. So let's start here. You go to the data, then you come to the data analysis. So we'll start with the paired sample t-test. So this is the paired sample t-test. Then you now click on OK. So here you need to select the first observation, which is the before. Then we can now select the after, which is this. So we can check the level because we have copied everything. So with the level, so we can now select where we want this to be. So we'll now place this thing. So we have the values here. So our null hypothesis, sorry, the alternative will determine whether it is one tail or two tail. So if you are saying that there is a difference between the number of the obstacle knocked while under the influence of fun and under no influence of fun, so that means the difference could be positive or negative. So it is two tail. So let's assume we are using two tail. So here we got the t stat, which is the t calculated at minus 6.87. So we compared with the t critical value, which is plus 2.57 to positive 2.57, and definitely this value does not fit into that range because minus 6.8 this thing is outside the range of minus 2. So in this particular case, we're going to reject the null hypothesis and we'll say that there is a difference on the number of the obstacle knocked while the driver is under the influence of one and when he is not under any influence of phone. So that means here you can now conclude and you can come up with a policy that will now maybe prohibit the use of a phone while driving. So and there is a shortcut to do that when you want to use the p-value. So if you don't want to go to this process, just press the equality sign, then you press the t dot t. So the t test will now appear. So you double click here. So it will show you to select the first array. So I will select this, but this time around without the headings or the title. So I will now press a word comma. So I will now select the second array. I will now press comma. So it will ask me whether it is a two tail or one tail. So I will double click on the two tail. I will now place on comma. So and it will tell me, it will ask me which of the tails am I using or I intend to use. So I am using ph sample. I will double click, then I will now close the bracket. I will now click on enter. So you see this p value given is 0.0099, which is the same with this 0.0997. So in this, if you are using the p-value, you compare this with 0.05. This is less than 0.05. It shows we are rejecting the null hypothesis. And we are going with the what? With the alternative that says the one has effect on the number of obstacle the driver could hit under its influence. So this is two sample t-tests. We want to test the average score of what? Of the student and what of the male drivers and the female drivers to see whether they have whether there will be a kind of a difference in scores when it comes to the driving score. So here the same thing, you go to the data analysis. So you now this time around we'll go to two sample independent, we'll assume equal variance. So you click on OK. So under this first one, we'll select this including the heading. Then under this, you also select this one with the word with the heading. So here I will select the output range. So let's say this is my output range. Then I will now click on what? OK. So here I will also assume it is a two tail. So you see my calculated T is 0.871 and I got the T critical as 2.22. So this could either be positive 2.22 to negative 2.22. So that means 0.87 falls within this. So I'm accepting the null hypothesis that says that there is no difference on the average score of male and female when it comes to driving ability. So, and this can also help me to like make policies that will not segregate. In making the policies, I will not tilt my attention towards the segregation of the driver's ability, whether they are female or female. So whether they are male or female. So you can equally use the shortcut to do it. You just click the equality sign, then t dot t. So the t test will appear. So you now select the first array, which is this, excluding the heading. So I will place comma. Then I will select the second array. I'll press comma. So I will double click on the two tail, then press the comma this time around. I will change it to two sample, double click on it, so close the bracket and you click on enter. So you see here you have a p-value of 0.403, which is the same thing as the one given using the first process, which is 0.403. So here you compare this with 0.05, and that shows you are going with the null hypothesis. So here we have the one sample t-test. Unfortunately, these are uh, the data analysis toolpack of the Excel doesn't have the one sample t-test, but you can do it manually if you want. But let me just use the SPSS to do that because it has that option. So let me just place the score. So I will now copy this data. So I will now copy this, then I will now place it here. So I'll go to the analyze, then compare means. So I'll go to one sample. I want to test my score. Then what is the national average is 100 because this is it. I want to compare the mean of these people that took the test with the population mean to see whether there is a difference. So and the population mean is 100. So I will now go back to my SPSS and I will now say okay. So you see here it has calculated the t value to be 3.152. So if you obtain the critical t from the table, you can make the comparison and reject or accept. Or you can use the p value for the two tail, which is 0.025, and this is less than 0.05. So you are rejecting the null hypothesis. So you conclude by saying that there is a difference between the average score of these people that took the test with the national average of what? 100. So that means these people perform better than this. So better or since we have used the two tail, it could be they perform worse or better. So, but if you are going for the that is one directional, so it will going to be what? One tail. So you see all this process, you can actually bypass this if you use the AI. It's just you just write a prompt and it will give you everything together with the conclusion. So it will save you the time. So let's open. Okay, let me open ChatGPT and also let me open this. Okay, this one is also ready. So here, let me, since I have copied those values, so let me just say perform, let's say perform get sample t-test and conclude. Let's say use two tail. So I will just paste this. So let me copy the same thing to the chat GPT. So I will just paste the prompt. I will also so let's see what it will give us. So you see the ChatGPT have calculated the T stat as minus 8.83, which is the same thing with what we obtained using the Excel. And also the p-value, it has calculated the p-value at 0.009, which is also the same thing. So and it has concluded that we reject the null hypothesis. So you see, this will simplify the process for you, but actually you need to know what you need. You need to know that this test is the best one for your set of data. So that is why you need the basic. But this one, it will simplify the whole process, and also this one, it has finished as well. So it also says that we reject the what? The null hypothesis. So this it calculated the t stat as this 6.8 this thing, and it says that we reject the null hypothesis. So let's try for the other one and see whether it will also this thing. So this one I will say let it perform the two sample independent t-test. So this one will be, let me say, perform two sample t-test. Perform two sample t-test. Let's say using two-tail. So I will just paste this. So let me copy this as well, so that I will take it to the DeepSeek to see whether it will also give me the same. So, so listen. So you see, the ChatGPT has done that. So you have the t statistic at 0.87 and the p value at 0.43. So let's check whether this is correct. So we have the t statistic at 0.87, which is correct, and the p 0.43. So, and it has concluded that we will go with the what? Null hypothesis. So let's see what the DeepSeek has. It is still calculating. So it is doing it elaborately, step by step. It calculates everything as if you are doing it manually. So maybe this will be good for those that like the basic, because these are the formulas from the scratch. Where it calculated the S square root, it calculated the mean square error. It has shown you how to find the DF, which is n1 plus n2 minus 2. So basically this one, it shows the entire process and the steps. So, and it also calculated this to be 0.873, which is correct. Then it also makes the conclusion to fail to reject this. So you see, this is even better than the ChatGPT, because it has calculate everything step by step. Then it now makes the conclusion. Unlike the ChatGPT, you see, it just calculated the t stat and the p value, then it concluded. So this one also, it has done that more in a better way. So also, if you are to do the one sample t-test, it will also give you the same thing. So maybe I will leave that one. You try it and see whether you will have the same answer. So basically, this is how to uh, ethically utilize all these tools. Once you know what you are supposed to do, then they will help you do that, and it will even reduce the tendency of errors. But at the same time, if you don't know what you are doing, so you can just copy something that are not supposed to be used. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.